Why does the sky still crack open with fire on the last night of the lunar year? And why does red paper still guard every doorway? The answer begins with a beast that supposedly no longer comes, and with an entire hidden order of creatures that, according to old belief, never stopped watching. Picture the final night of the year in old rural China. Lanterns are lit, doors are sealed in red. Somewhere in the mountains something ancient is said to stir, deciding whether the coming year opens in peace or in ruin. That something was Nian, a beast out of the folklore of Guangdong and Guangxi, described with a lion's build, jagged horns and teeth, built for tearing through livestock and crops alike. Once a year, when the cold pressed hardest and the harvest thinned, Nian was said to leave its mountain den and descend on the nearest village. The fear it inspired wasn't abstract. It likely grew from real winters, real predators, and real scarcity, given a shape people could finally fight back against. And fight back they did, discovering that firecrackers, loud drums, and the color red were enough to send the beast fleeing. That single yearly victory over Nian is the reason the tradition survives in every Lunar New Year celebration today, whether or not anyone remembers the monster it was meant to scare off. But Nian was only the loudest thread in a much larger tapestry, one built on the old Chinese conviction that the world runs on balance, order against chaos, yin against yang, and that an entire caste of creatures exists to enforce that balance in every direction. Look to the north, and you find Xuanwu, the black tortoise, its shell entwined with a serpent, standing as guardian of winter, water and endurance itself. Look west, and the white tiger prowls the autumn wind, said to appear only when a ruler governs with true virtue, a living verdict on whether the mortal world still deserved protection. In the south waited the fengwang, a bird woven from rooster, swallow, snake and fish into a single elegant form, embodying not conquest but harmony, the union of opposing forces held in perfect, deliberate balance. And above them all coiled the Chinese dragon, serpentine and whiskered, bound to the emperor's authority and to the reins that decided whether a harvest lived or starved. Together, these four were never simply monsters. They were the compass points of a moral universe, each one a promise that virtue, somewhere, was still being kept. Around these four great guardians moved smaller, stranger omens, each one a message in animal form. The Qilin, dragon-headed and hooved, was said to appear only in the presence of a truly wise and benevolent ruler, its rare sighting treated as proof that heaven itself approved of the throne. The Pikshu, a winged lion-dragon hybrid, took up post at doorways and shop fronts not to frighten but to hoard, believed to swallow wealth and never release it, a guardian of prosperity as much as safety. And wisest of them all was Baize, a white-furred, many-horned beast said to have once sat with the Yellow Emperor himself and named every demon, spirit and strange creature known to the world, becoming less a monster than a walking archive, proof that even chaos could be catalogued and understood. Not every creature in this order accepted its place quietly. Son Wukong, born from stone in the mountains of the south, shattered every expectation placed on him. A trickster with the strength to move mountains and a staff that could grow or shrink at his will, whose story begins with open rebellion against heaven itself. His myth, rooted in Taoist and Buddhist tradition, isn't a warning against defiance so much as an argument for what defiance can become if a rebel eventually chooses a purpose greater than his own pride. Elsewhere, in Tales of Transformation, the massive fish Kun was said to grow beyond all measuring before becoming Peng, a bird whose wings could blot out the horizon. An old promise that even the most confined creature carries the shape of something limitless waiting inside it. But balance, in this worldview, always demands a counterweight, and Chinese mythology never pretended chaos had been defeated for good. On ancient bronze ritual vessels from the Zhou dynasty, the Taoti stared out with wide eyes and a mouth too large to close, a monstrous face built as a permanent lesson about greed that consumes without limit. Taowu haunted the wild edges of the map, a creature with a human-like face grafted onto a predator's body, dwelling in forests and desolate riverbanks as a living warning about the confusion and ruin that wickedness leaves behind. Xiongqi, part tiger, part lion, part something with wings, was said to take pleasure in backing wrongdoers and stirring discord, less a beast than an embodiment of injustice itself. And the smaller Mogwai, elusive and mischievous, thrived in damp, forgotten corners, blamed for the small unexplained misfortunes that never rose to the level of catastrophe, but never quite left people at ease either. Some threats crossed fully into the realm of horror. The Jiangxi, dressed in the fading garments of the Qing dynasty, moved with a stiff, hopping gait, said to rise from improper burial and feed on the life force of the living, a fear born from real anxieties about death, handled the wrong way. Zhenyao, dark and ominous, carried poison said to travel through feather and claw alike, so lethal in legend that its essence was rumored to coat weapons in war, turning the natural world itself into an instrument of conflict. And when water turned against humanity, myth offered its own explanation. Gong Gong, part man, part serpent, striking Mount Buzhou in fury and tilting the very axis of the earth, unleashing the floods that reshaped the world. It fell to Yu the Great, and to figures like the monkey demon Wu Ziqi's eventual subduing, to prove that even the wildest natural chaos could, eventually be tamed by patience and will. By the time midnight fully arrives on Lunar New Year's Eve, the fireworks have done their old symbolic work. Somewhere in memory, Nian retreats to its mountain for another year. The four guardians hold their directions. The omens wait to be noticed by those virtuous enough to deserve them. And the creatures of chaos, however loudly they still echo in story, remain just barely on the losing side of the old balance. That's the real inheritance of this mythology, not fear for its own sake, but the old, stubborn belief that chaos can be met, named, and pushed back, one red door and one long night at a time. If these old guardians and omens pulled you in, stay a while, subscribe, and tell us which mythology's night should be next.